We're looking at about, it's about 15 feet up there. It's 13 feet 7 to the other side. This one's on more of an incline, so it's not as far to fall. Do I what? Testing the load. The hoist assembly to make sure everything works right. I haven't been doing a whole lot of filming because I've been doing a whole lot of working. But this is what we've got so far. This beam is close to being done. I got to put the Garnier attachment there. I got to get these 45s put in. And once I do that, then we hoist it up in the air, scaffold comes, but I'm going to hoist it up against the tree and then start working on the other one. So, alright, there you go. So yesterday I went and picked up the scaffolding because aligning the boards up in the trees is going to be problematic because it's up there, and I wanted to make sure. So I had some spare stainless steel laying around, so for the part that moves, I wanted to make sure that I protected my joists. So you'll see that I've cut the stainless and I've already put the holes in it for the anchoring screws. It's raining, so I'm having a hard time with this today. But I'll get a grease pencil and mark these up and bend them down. And then the UHMW stuff, I'll put that on here too. That'll be what rides on these plates, so that there'll be no problems with the wood as the tree structure moves. I put the other one together this morning. It started raining on me right when I was starting, and kind of need the glue to dry. The part that gets sandwiched in between the other 2x12 joists is just clamped down, and the other side over here, you know, I've cut in for the eye bolt. I've got it screwed down and everything. The screws are in for the side that the part that's exposed, and then the rest of it's just clamped because until the other two go on top, it doesn't get bolted. So, all right. So the Garnier limbs are going to go in. There's a little orange line up there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's right at 15 feet. That's where the joists will be, and then there'll be another 12 inches on top as the joists that actually hold the floor are on top of these supports. And you'll see that I'm going to be cranking it up into the tree. I've got the Mazdam rope pullers over there, which are essential to do this. Unless you have a vehicle access, I wouldn't want my truck back here, even if I could get it back here. This is my backyard. I don't want it torn up. So I find the trees that are right, I get my rope pullers and make sure that I have the right rope and my pulleys, and man, it's raining. So here's this ultra high molecular weight recycled plastic, whatever it is. You see it's got like this, it's got the rip marks from the saw blade on it for the purposes of a treehouse slide attachment. It's perfect, doesn't matter, doesn't make any difference. If you're going to use this for anything like a cutting board or something, you probably may want to rethink that. And why would you buy UHMW for that anyway? But we've got the saw fence set up for the width of a 2x12, and I'm going to rip off 22, 23 of these things, and then keep on going and getting everything ready. Alright, so they're all chopped up now, and you can see that I've started the holes, and I've got the countersinks in there because this stuff is really dense. You're not going to be like screwing into this and compressing it any. That's the whole point. And here's the caps. You can see that they're all ready. And the whole idea behind these is that the 2x12 or whatever your joist size is going to be is going to sit on this, and then when the tree moves, it does this. And Doesn't wear out the wood, it doesn't make a lot of noise. If you're up there sleeping overnight, just this nice quiet little ride as the tree moves back and forth. Perfect. Alright, time to go put them on. So it's another rainy day. I just started my vacation that I took some time off from work so that I can actually get this platform up and put together, and on the very first day it has pretty much rained all day. Which isn't a big deal because I'm still waiting on some modified parts from the welder. I got to get those back and paint them up. What we got is pretty heavy structure, and because of that I've modified some of the parts that you can get from these treehouse places and created my own stuff so that this will do what I want it to do. Let me get up there and I'll show you what's going on. Hold on. So we're up here on the scaffolding now, and you can see that everything's still the same. I've still got my chokes on, and the Mazdam rope pullers are off. The way this worked, I should have filmed some of that, but I was in a hurry to get it up here, is use the rope pullers to get it in proximity so that you can get your 1,500-pound come-alongs on there, and then you take the rope pullers down, you take the pulleys off, and then you've got a working platform you can work from up here and get everything just right. You can see the mark now where I'm going to put this on. I've got screws on either side, and we'll go over that when it gets time to do that, but today it's raining, there's not much else I can do but film. We've got the cable supports over there on the ends all put together. I wouldn't want to skinny out there and have to do that if I didn't have to, so I did it while it was on the ground. And here you can see that these things are installed now and put in place, and if you look, you can see that I've got every spot where a joist is supposed to go, and it's nailed down on this side. This is the side that's going to ride because it's the smaller tree, and the smaller tree is going to flex, and the bigger tree is the one that everything's attached to because it'll flex less. So that's the setup, and you can see that when these go up, I'm going to start bringing these up into level, and there's a nail on this side and then there's a nail on this side, and that puts it level to the tree, and then I'm going to go across to the other one, get this up, throw the level on it, level it all up, and you pull it off the tree with another puller from the other side right about where you expect your beam to be, so that it's right in level, and that keeps you from tearing out the bark as you're bringing this big heavy thing up. And my camcorder's getting wet, I better stop. Alright, I wanted to stop here so we could talk about what I'm doing. So before all of this started, I had these batter boards up and I strung these lines, and I got the center between the tree. So obviously the circumference of the tree, these lines come across, you take a line, you get to the center of the tree in relationship to where it's going to the other tree, and you'll see that I've got a line over there, a little dot for the center of that one too. And I've also got where I expect my height to be. So then you got to get your straps and your cinch lines up, and this goes up. This has been up and down, I don't know, 10-15 times to get it where it needs to be now. You bring it up and you see where your drill is, your hole's going to be, where you're going to drill your garnier limb. You have to get that exactly where you want it, and you want to do this as many times as you need to, because obviously you're only drilling that hole once. So you'll see I've got level out, I got level across, I got level from one side to the other. It's moved a little bit since I've been goofing around. It's off its line now. So this is the runners that I was talking about, and if I didn't accommodate for this, obviously my deck wouldn't be level, would it? So I got all of my stuff here, I got my levels. We're level across. Well, you know, it's settling a little bit. I had to take a cinch in the rope because it had bottomed out on me and I needed a little more room. But we've got it level. Now I have to get the other one up, and then I go across, and of course I'll show that too, how those go. This is just to keep it off the tree as it's coming up, because I don't want to keep skinning the bark, so I pull it off the tree. And obviously I'm pulling it right at center line so that it keeps going exactly where I want it. And this is really ready. This one's just about ready to put a garnier limb in, but obviously that doesn't happen until I have everything exactly right. You can see I'm sitting here just putting my hand on it. It's wobbling back and forth there. That can't happen. So I want to show one of these things before I put it on this other side. You'll see I've taken 2 of these traditional attachment plates that are sold all over the place. You can buy them from Michael Garnier or Nelson or some of the other guys that are doing this stuff. But that just wasn't going to be enough for me in what I'm doing. And for lateral loads, you'll see that I've got another attachment point here that's going to go down to another garnier limb to hold these, to keep them from canting in the tree. We don't want that. But a nice big plate. This board's going to, these support beams are going to sit on top of it, get cinched down. These little L brackets here are for some cabling that I'm going to pull and strap to the top of the tree. So I'm going to have support for we'll have the main garnier limb, we'll have the support down to hold it for lateral loads, and then we're going to have these cablings that pull it back up to the top of the tree, so it'll be triple supported and incredibly strong to hold all of this. And yeah, we're not too high in the tree, so the wind load's not going to be too terribly bad, but you definitely want to over-engineer these things to make sure that you've got plenty of support, because you don't want to be sleeping in the tree house and having it moving around and feel like you're at risk for anything at all. Or at least I don't. Alright, so most of the day was spent getting this thing level, and even so that the garnier limbs can go in. And you got to pull your diagonals, you got to do your 3, 4, 5 corners, you got to go across with the lines here. So we got these that I showed earlier. I had to pull a strap to get it from racking. We pulled our diagonals, we got our spans here, front and back. It's level. It's ready for the garnier limbs tomorrow. I'll show all of that, and I'll show what it looks like from the ground. It doesn't look like it's very high up here when you look over at the pool, but that's a deception. Alright, so the storms have passed. It's a nice day. This is one of those things that you only want to have to do once, because if you mess it up, you don't get a second chance. I say this tree's 60, 70 years old, and I'm about to put a hole in it. So I want to do it right. So to get it level, to get everything done, we've got level across at 2 points. I've also pulled a line from where I expect my joist to meet over to my other line where the joist is going to meet. I made sure that that's square so that they're not canted at any kind of weird angle. They went across. Did the 3, 4, 5 measurement on my string as it went across. Got level down the board. I got level this way. You see I got a wedge in here to keep it where it's at. I'm pulling them on tension. I'm pulling the rack to keep them square. I've got all my measurements together. This is exactly where I want both of these to sit. So what I'm gonna do, and I've been putting these things in a long time, before YouTube videos were out there where a bunch of people were putting these in. There was just Michael Garnier and his garnier limb, and I was putting these in, and I learned from experience that putting it in and using this as your follower so that you get right in there. I'm going to drill it in as far as it needs to go. You can see that I got it marked there. This is going to go in. That's going to be my pilot hole. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put this garnier bit on there. I'm going to use that pilot hole to drill my garnier attachment area, and then I'm screwing those bad boys in. I'm going to lift these things out of the way, put the garnier limbs in, then I'm going to use this chain fall to pull them together so that they can get on there as I lower them down with my hoist. Put them on this first garnier limb, level them back up again, make sure they're square again, and then start putting in the knee braces. Once the knee braces are in, obviously this thing's pretty much set and it's not going to go anywhere. I'll go off to the ends, pull my cables back up, and then get started actually making a deck on this thing. Alright, so this Garnier limb's almost in. You see I raised it up out of the way. I'm using my come along against the other one to pull it off the tree. And if you look over here, on these bigger trees that you can't get your hands around, I've cinched up this beam with a strap to the tree, and then I'm using that. Then once I get this Garnier limb in and this beam on it, I'm just going to do the same, cinch to the beam, pull this one off. That way I don't have to worry about trying to get my ropes around these big diameter trees. Big, you know, enough that you aren't going to be able to get your hands around, and you got to play the flip the rope around the tree game, which I don't have time for. Alright, so we'll be back. Alright, I just wanted to show this, that you watch me level everything and then put this in the tree. When I first started this and I made the batter boards up here, I think you can barely see it, there's an orange mark right there. There was the center of the tree between these two trees. I'm right on that, just a little down below because I didn't have the batter board up here in the right. But if you look at this hole, you'll see that it's way deeper here and it's shallower here. Now I'm not putting in one of those big Boss Garnier limbs. I'm putting in one of the smaller ones because I'm gonna be anchoring this at the bottom and up at the top, and I'll show you all that later. But you'll see how you would think you'd want to put it in the center of the tree and face it right towards the other tree. That's not the case. You got to get level on everything, and then you put the Garnier limb in right where the attachment tells you to. And this is your guide to drill this hole. Now when I get all these together, and the other one's already up there, if you look over here, you can see I've already got that one on, and it's sitting on the Garnier limb over there. And then we'll get back to this. So I just wanted to show that. Alright, the other thing I want to show before I put this beam on here is you put a Garnier limb in sideways, and there's a little bit of the, they call it the cambium layer, I guess. I don't know. I'm not an arborist. I like trees, and I want to especially keep the ones that are holding up my treehouse alive. This is like putting Neosporin on a cut. You got to seal this thing up so that the buggies don't get in and the fungus and stuff to rot the tree, because we just drilled through its protective layer. So we need to give the tree a little bit of love. So if you don't have one of those with the 3 or 6 inch boss on it that stick out past the tree, and even if you did, I'd probably still put a little bit of this around it as it exits the bark, just to be sure, because we're dependent on this tree to hold this tree house up. So, alright, I just want to show that. This is the stuff I use. I forgot that I didn't say what it was. This is the stuff I use when I seal up Garnier limbs. I put this stuff on there because I just think it's good. Like I said, Neosporin for a boo-boo. Alright, so this is a one-man operation, which it was the last time I did this. So, well, what I'm doing here is I've got these things pulled up into place. My first knee brace here. If you probably can't see it, but I put a mark 8 feet straight down level from the upper Garnier limb down to where I needed this one to go in for the knee braces. I put the Garnier limb in backwards. I'm going to use a vise to hold that in place, so it's going to be my pilot hole like I showed you up top. And I'm going to put that in right where it needs to be. And you can see it comes right up to here. I'm going to make myself a mark. I put a couple of eye bolts in either one of these and then pull them up into place where I need them to be. I'm going to make my marks. Obviously I'm going to make a mark right there because that's where I want that knee brace to be. Since trees aren't straight and level, trying to make these things perfect and pull them up into a tree when you got this kind of span. So just a little bit of math here. This is an isosceles triangle, which is 8 feet that way, 8 feet down, and then if you do the math, it comes out to like 11.75 or something like that this way, and out to where it needs to be, which is the end of the quadruple that I got here to hold this all together. So I'm gonna drill my pilot hole, make my cuts, and we're gonna put this knee brace in. All right, so I'm just about ready to put this in. I had to do some planing up there to get the angles just right because it's kicking back to the tree just a little bit. It's not coming straight off of there. You can see where it wants to be, and then you're gonna have to push it up towards the tree so it can go up onto the limb. So it took some planing. They're just tacked up there right now. And I put in my C-clamp. How you know you got it just right is there's no binding because these two go together. When you got your angles just right and everything's lined up, this just slides right out. I'm gonna drill my pilot hole and put this garnier limb in. All right, I got the knee brace in down there. I'm getting ready to put these knee braces in up here. And I just wanted to shout out to these things called Spacs. These things, amazing. Look at the bite on these things. That is crazy. It says no drilling, but I always drill a pilot hole because I don't want to split my wood. But when they go in, they stay in, and there's nothing backing them out. Spacs. Alright, so I just finished putting the garnier limb in on this other side, and I don't know if I've shown this or not, but I took the tacks down, which is just a couple of 3-inch deck nails that go up in here, holds it in place. You saw the C-clamp part where you go down there and then you drill your garnier limb. And then you just take these ratchets and ratchet it back up into place where you want it, and then that's when you spax them. So as you get this thing ratcheted back up into place, the other one came out perfect. The cut was right and it came out perfect. This one, see if we can see that. See that gap in there? That's unacceptable for a knee brace. It's going to be holding a bunch of load. It can't have all its load on this back corner. So I'm going to plane this off a little bit until it hits nice and flat, and then I'll pull it in tight with the Spacs, but that's too much on the back end, so I'm going to take a little off the back end. And that's what these things allow you here. They allow you to bring it up, put it into place, see exactly how it's going to fit. This isn't timber frame or anything because I don't want to take that kind of wood out of my support beams, but I do want it to be flat and level and look just right. I have a helper today.
Why?
She's really helping a lot. She's making sure that scaffolding doesn't fly away. She's holding it down for me. Yeah. That's all the help I've gotten so far on this. Starting to cut the floor joists, and then I'm going to winch them up. This thing right here, I've taken the chokes off that I used to hoist the beams, and now I'm going to use it to pull the floor joists up. And you see I got one done yesterday. I want to make sure I could do it. So now it's time to cut them all up and get them up here. Alright, so it's a really yucky Friday. Pretty much wasting another day of paying for scaffolding because it's raining and there's not a lot I can do. It rains and then it'll stop. I'll get out here, start working, and it'll rain. You can almost hear nature laughing at me as I do this. So I got all of the joists up here onto the beams. They're stacked, you know, however many go on that side over there and how many go on this side. We got some severe weather thing coming. There's 60, 80 mile an hour straight line winds and blah, blah, whatever, you know, yeah. So I've got everything tied down and strapped in and ready to go for whatever's coming the way. I also put a tick mark on this set of boards and I'm watching it from my sunroom so that I can see how much the trees are moving. But since there's no lightning, I came out here and I was standing out here in a raincoat watching it, and it's doing exactly what I expected it to do. It's moving a little bit, but not too much. I mean, if you look at the top of the trees, they're going everywhere, but you get down here 10, 15 feet around this big tree here and there's not much going on. But here's the slide detail here. So you can see that it's on the stainless steel, and as the trees move I want to keep it on the stainless steel, so I've made a bump here, bump stop, so it can slide one way or the other. It can move over. I could probably still push this. No I can't. But anyway, if it wanted to move, it could move over to that bump stop. Alright, I've done a lot of work since the last time I turned this thing on. I did all the boring junk, putting the joists up there, cutting them, hauling them, putting them up there. Of course I filmed a little bit of that, but none of this putting it together. That's boring standard stuff, other than the fact that one side of these joists ride. They're not attached with anything, so you had to keep pulling square, keep pulling your diagonals, make sure you stayed square, and you had to run a line to make sure that they were all coming out the way they're supposed to, because the beams these things ride on, they're square up to the knee braces, and then after that since I don't have them tied back with the cables yet, they bend just a little bit, enough to throw you off and make your deck look really weird. But what I want to show is the uplift protectors that I put on here. So since this side moves with the trees to kind of rock you to sleep, you can see I've already talked about these before. They limit the travel to keep them on the glides here, and the UHMW stuff is there too in here. And then what we see is that I have these 4x4s that are put in with 8-inch screws and some 3-inch deck screws too. But I've got this all thread down to this with another rider here, and I don't have a stainless steel glider because this doesn't ride all the time. It's a tiny little gap that you can't quite see. It's just barely in contact so that it doesn't stress the other side if there's any kind of wind that comes up here. I've been waiting to put the deck on and the flooring for the studio because I wanted these in place first, because without that it's just a big sail. You're just asking for trouble. But I've got 2 of them. There's going to be 2 more. They're going to be about every 8 feet, just like you would for your beam support. The same thing with uplift protection, because you don't want it to get a big bow. Not that I expect that. I don't expect that here, but you prepare for everything. So it's just some all thread through some 4x4s. I can control the length here, I can control the length here, and I made sure there was just a tiny little space right here, so if there's any kind of uplift, and it just a slight contact, any kind of uplift, it's going to ride right on here. You're never going to hear it, you're going to be safe, and the all thread on both sides also acts as a containment. So this is not coming off of the beam. So we've got some big winds coming in here right now, and I was sitting here watching actually I was working on a platform, and it was moving kind of weird, and I forgot that I had these blocks. When I was putting the deck together, the trees wouldn't stop moving. I couldn't stay square, and I had to put these blocks in a way to bind the center so that I could build out from the center. Look how it's moving. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm on it here and I'm watching it move. In any case, I just pulled squares on it before this wind started up, and I'm less than a 1/4 inch out of square on either side, which is really amazing considering this thing wouldn't stop moving the whole time I was putting it together. So I'm pretty impressed. There's this weird optical illusion. It looks like it's bigger here and it goes smaller all the way out, and it was really bugging me because I'm a perfectionist and I like things to be perfect, but I pulled squares. I stopped and pulled squares so that I would either take it all apart and fix it, or it was going to be within what the tolerances that I would accept, and it certainly is. So man, I ran to get the camera when the big wind was blowing. This thing was moving about an inch in either direction, which is not the most I've ever seen it move. Here, let's zoom in on this. We can see, hold on. So there's the mark. You can see the mark. Yeah, we're moving now. I'm moving. It's moving back in like a rockabye baby, you know. So it rides on these, and once the deck and the studio are in place, if big winds come along, the uplift protectors are going to keep it from going anywhere. They'll ride on those as it pulls up on them, if that even occurs. But anyway, I guess you get the idea. I don't want to sit here and bore everybody to death watching my little treehouse rock. Oh, there's a good one. I mean, you're sitting here watching this little mark move back and forth, sawing on the beam, but I'm feeling it, and I can just imagine being in the loft and going to sleep, and this wind just putting you to sleep here. So working the way it's supposed to work, doing everything it's supposed to do, and I'm going to try and get some boards up here, but actually I think I should probably stop because the wind's blowing so hard. I need to just call it a day and wait for this to blow through, and then I can start tomorrow. I'm still sitting up here. I'm enjoying the little rocking. But one thing I wanted to show, let me zoom out a little. When I started on this deck, I was pulling these boards out of the pile. They just brought me an entire pallet of these things, and I still came up a few short. I'm gonna have to go back and get a few more, and I had to take some of the crummy ones back and get better ones. This stuff is labeled number 2 prime, but I don't know, some blind guy is labeling it or stamping it, or maybe they're getting a kickback or something, but it was a lot of knots and a lot of cracks and checks and stuff in the edges. Anyway, I thought I was going to have to plane, which is like a no-no in the building industry, but I just want to show, look at that. That's a 6-foot building level, and it's within the marks. That's, man, I just got to say, I'm really happy. It's come out good. It's come out square. It's come out flat. Of course, you would expect that if you're building anything, but I swear, this thing has never stopped moving from the minute I got these beams up here. These trees have been moving back and forth, and it's been, I put it together, take it apart, put it back together. It would move, and that's why I blocked it. But anyway, just want to say that.